What's up, y'all? It's Matt Forte here with Jason Romano on the Sports Spectrum podcast. And Jason, today we are talking with MLB legend Clint Hurdle on
Yes.
the podcast. He was back on in 2020. And so to start off, Clint, man, just for those who haven't heard your story from back in 2020 and also for my own edification, since I haven't heard it, just tell us your testimony and get started about how Jesus has been the focal point of your life.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Matt. There's no doubt that I was lost. There's no doubt that I went through some dark stages. There's no doubt that the life I had planned for myself never even got close to landing it because I continued to try and leverage situation after situation after situation. I was brought up in a good home. It wasn't a church home. The story I like to tell is my dad and mom used to make me walk my two little sisters up to church on Sunday for Bible class and then church. And little did I know that as soon as I'm walking out, I hit that last step in on the driveway. I heard the Platters playing back inside loud. And when I came home, I'd hear Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass. And it wasn't until years later I asked my dad what was going on. He said, "Son, I'm working 2 shifts. Your mother works. Sunday morning is our time." So the reason I went to church and took my sisters, was to give my mom and dad some time of their own. Now, a sidebar of that, both my mom and dad are saved now. They've been saved for years thanks to the persistence and the wonderful heart of my sister Robin. My older sister Bobby's saved as well. So we have 5 in our family that all come to know Jesus over time. I was saved early on, Matt, at actually an FCA event, a youth rally, age of 17, on fire for Jesus. Then found out that all the pretty girls were going down to the First Baptist Church at Merritt Island. That's where all the action was happening. So that was my church of choice. I was going to go to First Baptist Church. And I saw a different kind of behavior. I mean, it was friendly people, kind people, yes sir, no sir. Southern Baptists are a little different now, but it worked, it fit. And at that time, I ran into the first man, probably outside of my father, that actually cared for my soul. Pastor Len Turner set me down to explain the gospel message. He walked me through it. He walked me through the birth, the life, the cross, the resurrection, and the reason. And I'm in. And I got baptized a short time later. I'd like to tell you everything was just, high fives and hallelujahs from that point on. But basically, I used Jesus as an ATM card for 23 years. And I think there's probably going to be somebody listening that could be doing that right now. I needed some Jesus. I'd go find some Jesus. I got in trouble. I'd pray. How many times have I said this prayer? Lord, if you get me out of this, I will never, ever, 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 ever do this again. So I'm sure Jesus is saying, "Okay, Clint, you again? Yeah, this again? Okay. Well, you know what? I love you. Sometimes tough love, still love. You're going to work through it, and I'm going to be there." I separated. He never did. That commitment that I made, I didn't realize at the time he would never leave me. It's in the Bible. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. But I left, for periods of time. And it wasn't until later on in life, through a bunch of challenging times. I mean, I drank myself into becoming an alcoholic. I had a major league career. I was a major league coach. I was probably a lot less than what people thought I was supposed to be as a player. Sports Illustrated cover, 1978. But through all the mess, through all the madness, there was never a peace. There was never a purpose. There was never a serene calmness in my soul. I was either acting, performing, asking for forgiveness, trying to fix something that I broke. It just seemed there was drama always going on that I was constantly a part of causing. 23 years later, through a sequence of events, I got into a real bad place. And I drove off the road drunk. I told people I fell asleep. For some reason, God decided to spare my life. I did not hurt anybody or myself, but I got my second DUI in a 10-year period. So here I am, the age of 30-something. Second DUI, I wake up in a room, I don't even know where I'm at, and I got a cop in there with me, law enforcement agent, explained what had happened the night before, showed me the crime scene, Anyway, horrific. But at that point in time, I still didn't quite get it. And it wasn't until a few months later, I settled. I just stayed out of trouble is all I did. It's not like I got all on fire for Jesus and I even stopped drinking. But I kind of settled, and I had been dating this woman, Carla Urich, for 6 years. And this first woman that made me date her for an extensive period of time. I dated her. I chased her and never caught her. That wasn't my problem. My problems were usually catching. It wasn't the chasing, it was the catching. But I asked her to marry me, Matt and Jason. And at that particular point in time, this is when all the tumblers started to unlock. She looked at me in those eyes. She goes, Clint, that's an interesting question. I said, Carl, that's not the answer I've grown accustomed to. I'm divorced twice. She goes, I'm well aware. She goes, but until you find a way to make yourself happy, you'll never make me happy. For 2 years, I worked on myself, Matt. I had this list of, I'm a guy, and man math is huge to me. So I listed all the things I thought I was doing well in all the areas I needed to improve. But on the areas I need to improve, I put rededicate my life to Christ and get sober. And I had about 16 more things. I took care of the first two, and I can't even tell you what the other 16 are now, 26 years later. Cut to the chase, 2 years later, after all this work, AA, counseling, church, real church, committed to church, small group, sharing, learning, Bible study, revisiting God's word, the difference he'd made in my life and the impact he was still willing to make in my life if I would surrender. Asked her to marry me 2 years later. She married me. We've been married 25 years. We've had a couple children. I could not have written the story that has happened to me in the 26 years since I got sober, let alone the 25 I've been married, on my own merit. And that's the man math that really makes sense. Sober 26, married the third time for 25. You think the drinking played any role in the first two marriages, the mess up? My story's all over the joint, but that's where it landed. And since then, I've done nothing but share with God, hey, use me, man. Take me where you want me to go. Lead me where you want to lead me. I'm just running errands for Jesus. That's where I'm at right now.
Amen. Well, thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable with us and our listeners as well. But you mentioned surrender, and I think that's a huge word that we should settle on for a moment. Of a lot of times as men, especially within sport, we're not taught. You don't ever give up. You keep fighting. You don't surrender. And so when it comes to this countercultural aspect of the kingdom, surrendering is the most important thing for us to do. We can be followers of Jesus and not surrender, and then live a life in the wake of traumatic instances where you look back and it's like, man, that was bad. And it's a lot of it is my personal fault. But then we see the waves of grace covering those as well. So with that being said, leadership is an interesting topic. Sometimes leadership is forced upon people. Sometimes people show up in a certain way and it's performative and it comes to be found out. When it comes to leadership and how you took the personal self-leadership serious, talk about how your leadership changed, both on and off the field in the MLB, because when you took it by the reins and said, I'm going to work on myself and lead myself so that I can lead other people, I see a change there, as you talked about.
Well, I think there was a period of time in my life after I got done playing, and I didn't retire because good players retire. I just decided to go on a different course because people were stopped calling me and asking me to play. And actually, I got my first managerial job in the minor leagues by threatening to continue to play. I leveraged the situation. Leverage was a big word in my life. I felt, you might not be old enough, Matt. Jason may be on the brink, but there was a show on back in the day called Leave It to Beaver.
Sure.
I remember
Eddie Haskell was my role model for a long time. Hey, hello, Mrs. Cleaver. You look wonderful today. And then as soon as he gets out of the house, he's messing and jiving and lying. And I was so many different people. And that leadership part was, I was a silent assassin. I was going to leverage every situation I ran into to win. I was going to win something. And if I didn't win something, that relationship was probably done. I was going to go on to a next one. I went from that guy to being a guy that stopped keeping score, I'm not leveraging anything. I'm going to do the best I can to help you succeed and you to reach your goals and you to find your best version of yourself. I was given an early task by Kelly McGregor, who's since passed, but he was the president of the Kansas City Royals organization. When I became the manager, he was part of the group that named me manager in 2002. And we were talking about what that looked like. And I said, well, will you help me with being a manager? He goes, no, what I'm going to help you with is being the best man you can be. He said, because I believe if I grow the man spiritually, you'll be the best manager you can be because you won't have any choice. You'll want to be the best manager you can be. You'll be convicted to serve others. It will be transformational leadership, not transactional leadership. And he ended that conversation with, Clint, be mindful of this. As long as you'll be in that chair, as long as God wants you there, no man can move you out. When God doesn't want you there, no man can keep you in it. Kelly was part of the group that fired me 9 years later. You know, I went to Texas for a year. I went to Pittsburgh. I was there for 9 years, and then there was a time where that ran out. And I always have had this term, and I've used it, honor the exit. I would have honored nothing after I got fired back in the day when I was just doing my thing. I wouldn't honor anybody. I was going to scream, point fingers. It wasn't me. It was you. It was all this. Man, how can you put me in this situation? And now it's just rise above. Be thankful of the people that you were able to work with. Be thankful of things you accomplished together. Be thankful of the lives that you were able to help make a difference in. Honor the exit, be grateful, and then move on out because God's got you going somewhere else because he said, no more here.
Yeah, yeah, and hey, Jason, I'm starting to hear a few hurdleisms. If
I hear him too.
I know I want the listeners to stay tuned because that's going to come up later. But I wanted to ask too, when it comes to being in the manager position, and you were a former player as well. What was the biggest difference that you would say as far as the obstacles that you had to face between the two?
Well, there's boundaries, number one. And number two, you're not going to make everybody happy. And the best way to do that is to try and make everybody happy. You want to treat everybody the same, but at times you got to treat everybody a little different. You know, there's some people that have earned more. Not that you bend the rules for them, but they've earned more. You listen to their voice maybe a little bit more. You delegate responsibility towards their direction a little bit more. You put them in charge of a group that maybe you're not reaching. You ask for help. It's a superpower, which for many years I just thought, man, I was weak. You know, here's some more man math. But I actually, I apologize for my language, but I call it just it's jackass mentality is what it is. How many times I ever said, you know what, I got myself into this hole. I'll get myself out. I'm gonna trust the same dude that put me in the ditch to get me out of the ditch. How about just call a little time out here and say, hey, making a call, hey, 911, or hey, call a lifeline, or hey, I haven't handled this very well. Can you give me some help here? Here's where I'm at. And as a manager, I realized early on that I was going to need some help. There's a lot of first guessing in managing. There's no second guessing in managing. You first guess. And as a player, you second guess. You may not want to admit it, but you always wonder what you would have done or why he did that. It might not be malicious. And your coaches second guess you because they kind of wonder maybe every once in a while because there's times that a decision is made. You're the one making the decision. You don't huddle up every time. You know that in football, it's 4th and 1. You don't see the coach over there. Okay, everybody get together. Let's see. Okay, you say yes. No, it's okay. We're going or no punt team. Let's go. So I realized early on that my goal wasn't to make everybody happy. My goal was to lead, to be a North Star, to give them vision, to give them direction, and to be fair. And knowing that tough love is also still love. And sometimes that was a hard one because there's people that don't understand that. I didn't early on. And I think what I found out over time is those relationships that you build with your coaches and your players, those are the things that withstand the test of time. I've never held a World Series trophy over my head. I've been 3 times, manager, coach, and player. Finished second 3 times. But I know this, I don't think, even if I'd won one, I don't know, but I don't think I'm going to feel any different today if I'd won one or if I'd won none. What makes my heart happy is when I get a text, an email, or a phone call from a former player saying, hey, Skip, this happened last week with my boy. Can you give me any insight? I'm going to meet in a couple of days with Andrew McCutcheon, who I had in Pittsburgh, and now he's back on the island for spring training. We're just going to get together and cut it up a little bit, and we're going to laugh. We're going to giggle. He's going to tell me some things that drove him crazy, but we're tight. We do life together, and I think that's been the part that I didn't try to lose sight of. I wanted the player, like your job as a coach is to make the player better. But I also felt my responsibility was do what I could to help the player become a better person.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. So I wanted to ask you something that I've always wanted to ask a baseball manager or coach that I haven't asked anybody yet is there an art to arguing with an umpire? Is there an art to that? Is there a certain style that, goes on? Because, it's almost like when you get up there, at a certain point, you realize he's probably going to throw me out, so I might as well go all in. But I don't know. Has that changed, or is there a craft to it?
There may have been a craft to it, because if you'll watch video of Earl Weaver and Billy Martin, you may think so, but at times I can tell you, you just go stupid out there. You get out there and I've watched the videotape after I got thrown out, and I'd be watching me going, oh my, ooh, oh. And you forget that people can read your lips. And I had a very valuable lesson taught to me by my son. One time I came home, and normally, I got raised by my dad, and when we had trouble, he'd say, son, meet me in the garage. So I used that with my son. When something sideways happened, I say, hey, Christian, meet me in the garage. I get home late from a night. I got thrown out again, and I went off. And he stopped, and I didn't. And he turned around, and I chased him back around. Anyway, I get home that night, get up early in the morning, get the kids off to school. Christian's already up. He's waiting on me. He said, Dad, meet me in the garage. I'm like, what? He said, yeah. He said, I just want to let you know, Mom let us stay up late, and I watched that game, and I saw you get thrown out. I said, okay. I'm sorry for that. He goes, no. He said, I can read your lips. I can tell what you're saying. He said, and there's one point where he stopped yelling at you, and you just kept yelling at him. Do you realize he has kids? He could have kids, Dad. You know what you're doing? You want to talk about getting hit right between the eyes by a 9-year-old. And it was at that moment, Matt, Jason, I made a deal with myself, with God, and my son. I would never swear at another umpire. I would never swear at another umpire. As a matter of fact, I've said that for so many years. I need to get rid of the profanity. Well, I have. I did a while back. But I want to tell you this too, Matt. You can still get thrown out without using a swear word.
Yeah,
that's happened plenty of times. All you got to do is start the sentence with you. Like, how can you be that close in the perfect position to see that play and still miss it completely?
And still get it wrong. Kick some dirt on his feet or something like that, right? Yeah,
it's crazy.
That'll get you tossed.
It's crazy, but I thought there was a craft to it. I'll give you one more quick story. I went out to get thrown out. Fourth game of a series, one up. This guy, I won't tell you his name, but he was at third. He missed a call. He's at second. He missed a call. Each night I'm going out arguing with the same guy. Finally, he's behind home plate, and he rings up somebody, and I go out. And I'll tell Bannister right next. I'm done. Here, I hand him the stuff. I'm done. I said, I'm going to go get him. I got out there, and the sides were switching. It was a third out, and I started yelling. I'm yelling. Finally, he goes, Clint, you can stand here and yell all night. And I said, what do you mean I can yell? And he goes, as bad as your team is, you think I'm going to give you the luxury of throwing you out so you can go upstairs and not watch this? If I got to watch it, you're staying out here. You can't catch. You can't pitch. You can't hit. You can't throw. You can say whatever you want. Man, I went back out. Bannister's looking at me like, well, dude, what's up? I thought you were getting thrown out. I said, man, he declawed me out there. Declawed me.
When you want to get thrown out, you can't get thrown out.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. He declawed him out there. But that's a perfect segue into my next question. Sports Spectrum has a series called I Once Was. And so it's based off of, obviously, the song I Once Was Lost, Now I'm Found, the amazing grace of that. When you hear that I once was part, what thoughts come to your mind?
Wow. Yeah. I cannot believe I can believe, but I have to reset myself. The amazing grace God has shown me. And from the initial contact, the initial commitment, the initial sinner's prayer, where I said, Jesus, come into my life, take control, he never left. Through all the mud, through all the misery, my misery, he turned into my story. My mess, he turned into the message that I share now. And I know there was collateral damage along the way. I've gone about making amends the best way I can. And what I've also learned from him is that you make your amend and you move on. You can't, if they don't take it and they don't like it, that's not for you to control. Your job is to apologize. You ask for forgiveness. They'll either give it or they won't, but you go there and you say you're sorry. And I've had to do that repeatedly. However, the blessings that have come, the relationship with my oldest daughter, Ashley, and her husband. I mean, it was the time sideways. She still saw me drinking. Now she sees a different father. She sees a different person. I have a daughter also that I never knew I had, and a son-in-law I never anticipated on having. I could not love more. Maddie, our other daughter, is 22, was born with a birth defect. That's not something you sign up with. But God doesn't promise a perfect life. He promises a blessed life. And I can tell you today, Maddie's 22. Most of her's 12. Behavior, IQ. Maddie has blessed Carla and I in ways in our relationship that I'd like to say, oh, yeah, I would have figured it all out. Third time marriage, I got this. Maddie has had us walk through situations together and get to places we never could have got through on our own because of her challenges or her blessings or what she brings or the people that her life has brought into our life. The other thing I've learned is I can't throw money. You can't throw money at things. There's a group of people that take care of Maddie that I've never met in my life, that I've met now, that do it because they love these kids. And that's it. They don't care that Maddie's daddy managed this team or that team. They do it because of their love, and most of them, a love for Christ, to serve others. My son Christian absolutely neutered me as a sports parent from his entire life. Retired from baseball at 4. It broke my heart. We fixed that. I just jumped in, told him no big deal. It was a big deal, but no big deal. Then he started with tennis. Then he started with karate, and then he went to crew. 3 sports I know nothing about, so I could never second guess the coach, and I could never overcoach my kid.
Genius.
And right now I was lost, but look at what I found. What I found with my 3 children. What I found is each one of those children was put in my life by him to bless me and transform me in a way I would not have gotten probably to on my own. He's orchestrated this part of it as well and put a woman in my life that I'll forever be grateful to. The best thing, the best thing on earth that's ever happened to me. And I share this wherever I go to speak, because guys, we can feel a little bit more than every once in a while. We can feel a little bit smarter than we should. I say behind every good man is more often than not a much better woman.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely. Same here. I've been married going on 14 years and she's much better than I am. But yeah, so you had a book came out in February of this year, and it's Hurdleisms, wit and wisdom. And throughout this entire podcast, it just oozes out of you. You can just see it. But with that, I wanted to ask a question because you can see it. That I wonder, do you think God has a sense of humor? Being that you play baseball and we're in that world so much, and 3 strikes you're out. 3 outs and you change the inning, and your third marriage ends up being the one that is the most beneficial. Not that it's supposed to be that way, but just out of God's grace. It's like, do you see the sense of humor in God and how He works all things together? And it's like, you just shake your head like, I can't even believe this, but it's.
I get dipped in Romans 8:28 every day. Every day. I shared at a keynote in Omaha, a while ago. I said, if my life was a baseball game, I'm the starting pitcher that gives up 5 in the first inning, but they're all out of pitchers because of the workload, and the manager's got to keep shoving me out there, and eventually I figured it out and did okay. If I'm a hitter, I've punched out 3 times, but he's got a short bench. He can't pinch hit for me. He sends me up the last time, and I hit a bases clearing double in the 8th inning. I've booted 2 balls at short, but at the end of the game, he doesn't have anybody put it short, so he leaves me in. and then I helped turn a game-ending double play. Time after time after time, and he just did it to me again 3 days ago. We've got this big fundraiser we run every year on our island for Prader-Willi syndrome and for Maddie and the kids. Maddie never got asked on a date. She never went to prom. So we've turned this event, and tonight we honor Maddie. We celebrate Maddie. Our island got hit by 2 hurricanes last year. We are substantial damage to many people, financially, just a lot of different places. So our sponsors, we lost a lot of sponsors. This is going to be a hard year to fundraise this year. I got a call out of the blue the other day that I wasn't expecting to call. It was just like, "You gonna what? you want to what?" And I talk to this guy maybe twice a year, and he's just like, "Come on, man." He's laughing because he's going, look at you running around worrying a little bit. You look crazy down there. You know what's happening?" He said, "Dude, relax." I know he's got a sense of humor. First of all, because he made me. There's no doubt there. But then I've got enough friends in my life that we all kind of do the same thing, I don't think he could. What I love is when we go through adversity, and Jason's heard me share this, how else can he test our spiritual growth? It can't all be high fives and giggles all the time. There's got to be some boo-boo lips. There's got to be some missed grounders. There's got to be some punch-outs. There's got to be some fumbles. And then how do you react? Do you bounce back? Do you say, okay, what I continue to tell myself when something goes sideways, okay, there's a lesson here. It's up to me to learn the lesson. Yeah. And I'm still learning lessons because I have learned if you don't learn the lesson the first time, he will continue to give it to you wrapped differently until you learn it. And then the blessing is you get another lesson.
Absolutely.
So good.
Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, Clint, I think to wrap it up here, Matt mentioned the new book, Hurdleisms, Wit and Wisdom from a Lifetime in Baseball. What's your favorite hurdleism?
My favorite, and I was fortunate this morning, talked to my son on the phone. He's in Aspen. Here's another kicker. My son, passion, dream, leaving high school was to go to the Culinary Institute of America and become a pastry chef and a baker. Hey, man, I'm in. I fueled it. We fueled it. We've been up there. We've done the whole thing. He's got a year in under his belt. His second year, he's at an externship right now in Aspen, working in a hotel, baking and making pastries and a barista. 7 weeks into it. But he called me. He told me this new dessert he made. Man, I got tears running down my face. My son, it'd be like watching your son throw a no-hitter or watching your son hit a home run. My son gets in the kitchen and it just gets magical. I just sit back and I'm like, so he calls me this morning. And then I tell him, I said, boy, you won't believe this. He's the one that dared me to get into social media. He's the one that has challenged me to do some things I never would have done. But we put out a post about the white belt mentality. And basically, it was during his karate days where, tennis didn't work, didn't stick, karate, it's getting to that point. And he says, Dad, I need some money for a uniform. I said, hey, boy, I don't think they're called uni. Oh, no, you're right. It's an obi. I need money for my obi. And I go, Carly, you got some money? Because I don't carry much money. Carly gets the money. He comes home. We're like, okay, did you get it? Yeah, I got it. Go upstairs, put it on, and show us what you learned at class today. So he goes upstairs, he throws it on. He comes downstairs, Kung Fu Panda. He's slicing, dicing, kicking. But the robe's wide open. I'm like, hey, bud. Whoa, I can see your drawers, man. I go, don't you have a belt? And he goes, oh, man, yes, I forgot the belt. So he runs back up. He comes down. He's got the belt tied around. He looks at us and goes, you know what kind of belt I got? And I'm like, to myself, man, I'm thinking, yeah, dude, you got the white belt. You got that lowest belt on the thing, man. It means you don't know anything. You got the white belt. I just say, oh, son, what is that? What do you got? He goes, Dad, I got the best belt. This is the best belt you can have. I'm like, okay, why? He goes, it's the white belt. It means you know nothing but have an opportunity to learn everything. Wow. You can be a lifelong learner.
Right? Let's go.
Wow.
So we throw this out in a post. You may have numbers. I've never seen 391,000 people gravitated to that lesson. And that's not about the numbers, but it is about the message.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so who's a better lifelong learner to follow than Jesus Christ?
Amen.
He wants us all to be white belts. Just keep showing up. Keep learning. I'm going to keep teaching. He's teaching today.
Yeah,
to
he's
each and
teaching
every
right
one.
now in this conversation. It's been amazing. By the way,
Amen.
Matt Forte, did you know that Clint Hurdle once received a scholarship from the University of Miami to play both baseball and college football as a quarterback? Did you or did you not know that?
Did not know that. Did not.
Clint Hurdle, the football player?
I was the pretty boy quarterback, Matt. I had bats on my shoes. I had a Joe Namath bird cage. We audibled at the line. We ran a hurry up offense in 1975, and all I did was fling it. If it got hot back there, I just ran out of bounds and dropped the ball. They hated me, but I had a gun.
Gunslinger.
The University of Miami football program did not go backwards by any means because a guy named Kelly went there, Testaverde went there, Kozar went there.
It worked out.
Yeah, they did fine.
They did okay. No, that was awesome. I love this, Matt. I'm so glad that you get to meet my friend because I've known Clint a long time and we're on Bible studies together every week and text threads and all these things. But you got to experience the hurdleism for yourself, Matt Forte.
Absolutely, man. It was amazing. That message about the white belt, I'm gonna keep that one too and pass that on down, And I'm gonna give you credit. I ain't gonna take it.
Give credit one time and then it's yours, brother. Run with it.
That's how it works.
There you go.
Well, man, thanks, Clint, for coming on. It was a blessing getting to hear your story, and I know people are going to be blessed by listening to Sports Spectrum. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. This was a blast, man. Thank you for the opportunity.
Always good to see you, Clint.
Good to see you, Jason.
Hey, thanks for watching Sports Spectrum here on YouTube. You can click our next video, or you can check out our website, sportspectrum.com.